Frederic Kanoute won 2 Europa Leagues, 2 Copa del Reys and a UEFA European Super Cup with Sevilla. And he also played for West Ham, Tottenham and Lyon, not to mention that he was also a key part of the Malian team that reached the 2004 semi-final of the African Cup of Nations. Welcome to Kenya and thanks for your time. Talk about that 2004 African Cup of Nations. You reached the semi-finals, but not before dispatching of Kenya 3-1 in the group stage. What do you make of the Kenyan team now as opposed to the Harambee Stars squad that you faced then?
I think now you have like more star players in the team, like Wanyama and other players that bring like another standing to the team and another class to the team. But even at the time, I think we didn't underestimate the team. We remember we prepared that game very well. We were really much focused, and I mean, unfortunately for Kenya, we beat them 3-1. It's a great memory for me because obviously I was lucky enough to play and score twice in the game, I think. So it was a good thing.
Fantastic. And you actually played for the France under-21 team before moving to Mali as a senior player. Why? What prompted that particular move?
I mean, I've always loved African football. I've always been linked to my roots as well in Africa, and I always wanted to play for Mali one day. And it's true that it happens a lot in Europe when the young Africans from double culture, French and African, they play for the youth team of France, but after they have the possibility to change and play for their country of origin. So for me it wasn't an easy choice, but in the end I followed my heart at the time, and I don't regret, and it was an honor for me to represent Mali and have these great years playing with them.
All right, and there was a bit of controversy at that particular time. There were rumors that Tottenham actually tried to disrupt that particular move, at that particular time, going to play for Mali. Is it true?
A little bit of pressure, but I cannot blame them because they thought I could play only for France at the time, and obviously there is a little problem in the calendar as well. We know that African footballers they have to leave during the league to play the Africa Cup of Nations, so it's never easy to accept for the European clubs. But in the end we had a discussion, and I showed myself very firm on this. It was not negotiable, and they accepted my decision. When I came back, it was difficult. The relationship started to shift a little bit. It was difficult, but that's the price to pay, I would say.
That's the game indeed. And you've played in a few different leagues, I do believe 3 or 4 different leagues. Which one was the most challenging and which one did you enjoy the most?
I mean, the challenge have been in every single one of them because the football in all these leagues, the French one, the English one, the Spanish one and the Chinese one to finish off, all the challenges are different. The level is different as well, the style of playing is different, so I had to adapt my game to every situation, which was really enriching for me. But I would say that the most enjoyable has been the Spanish one, La Liga, the one I represent today, and because that's where I enjoyed my football very much. It's a football more based on technical abilities and tactical understanding of the game, so I really enjoyed my football there, and that's where I had more success as well.
You had a fantastic time at Sevilla, scoring almost 90 goals. It was absolutely wonderful. And speaking of Sevilla in the La Liga, what are your hopes for them this particular season? Do you think that they can break the top 4 and finish in the top 4?
Yeah, I think they started very well. Unfortunately, they couldn't maintain the level they started with, so they've dropped a little bit the last few weeks. Obviously, they play also the Champions League, and so it's not easy to combine the two most of the time. And there's a goal maybe, but yeah, I wish them luck and all the best because I'm always a follower of Sevilla. And I just hope they're going to maintain more regularity and consistency in their game, because they're capable of doing some great games, and the game after they drop a little bit. So in football you have to maintain a high level all the time, which is really, really difficult.
All right, and you were always a very cool and calm character on the pitch, but there were a few moments here and there. Tell us about that famous fight, that altercation between yourself and Cesc Fabregas. Of course, we saw a lot of people come to your defense. We saw everything that happened later on with Messi missing the penalty. What happened?
Which fight are you talking about? I don't remember that.
You don't remember?
I mean, everybody is reminding me that even if I wanted to forget, it's impossible. But yeah, no, it happens. As you said, I'm a very quiet person, but most of the time, the most quiet person, you have to be careful, and sometimes I lose it, or I lost it a couple of times in my career, not many times, and it's certainly not an example to give to the kids, because we should always encourage fair play and be aggressive on the pitch, be on a positive way, not that way, but sometimes it can happen, and after everything was solved, and that's it.
Mali national team haven't been doing too well in the recent past, of course, can't be compared to your era. What do you think needs to happen? What do you think needs to change for them to actually compete when we're talking about the African Cup of Nations, even qualify for the World Cup?
I mean, there's a lot of work to do in Mali, to be honest. Internally, we have a lot of things to manage before tackling the external part, and even the Africa Cup of Nations, winning it or qualifying to the World Cup. I think it comes from inside out, and we have to work inside and manage the national teams from the youth level to the top level, and manage our institutions better as well. And when we do that, I think it will allow our football to develop in a better way. But obviously in Mali there is a lot of talent, and we deserve better than that. So hopefully we're gonna start managing the situation better, so we can flourish a little bit more on the international level.
And how do you think the African teams will fare in the 2018 World Cup? Which teams do you think will go the furthest?
I mean, there are big teams like Nigeria, who's always like a strong one. It's difficult to predict, but I just hope we pass that quarter-final that seems to block us all the time. And I think when we reach that level, I say when, not if, because I know one day it will happen. I don't know if it's in this one or the next one, but I really believe in the fact that African football is the future, and soon we will have, sooner or later, I prefer sooner than later, an African team that reached the final of a World Cup. But still we have some work to do, but I'm quite confident. I just hope for the next one an African team can reach the semi-final at least.
Our dreams are valid, aren't they? And you're a practicing Muslim. Tell us about the role that your faith has had in your life as a player and now post-football.
It has had a place everywhere and a role everywhere, anytime, not only on the pitch but off the field as well. It's something that I cannot divide from my persona. So yeah, it helped me a lot. It taught me a lot. Taught me patience, discipline, respect. So it's really compatible with sport, I would say, and it helped me and gave me the strength, especially on the time where I needed support. I can always find the support in God and my religion. So obviously it was a great support in my career and in my life.
How did you know it was time to retire?
I knew because I was 36 when I retired. I was playing in China, and I never wanted to push it too much to the point where I don't enjoy playing anymore, or every time you go to the pitch it's like suffering and another one. But I think it was the good moment for me, because when I retired I was still quite in good shape. So I didn't feel like I disappointed the public, because for me there is respect as well. They've known me playing football in a certain way, so I want them to remember me at the top level and not not being able to play properly football anymore. So I think it was the right time for me.
I want to get into a bit of a controversial topic. I really want your thoughts on this. Let's talk about racism, more so in the European chapter of football. Why is it you think, for example, only one African player so far has only ever won a Ballon d'Or? Why is it so difficult for black coaches, especially in Europe, to get jobs? We saw Sol Campbell talking about, look, I will coach for free, just give me a job. Why do you think that situation is there?
Yeah, I think there is a problem. We cannot hide the fact that there is a problem, and we have to work for it. I think we've come a long way, because we know that, for example, in England, like 15 years ago, there was like a big problem, racism and hooliganism, etc. But they've tackled this problem quite well. So we have to encourage also all the positive actions that are taking place. But I think we still have a really, really long way to go. And I think we are not represented enough in coaching, for example. And also, I think sooner or later we will need and deserve to win Ballon d'Ors, etc. I'm not saying that, of course, Cristiano and Messi, they've deserved all the Ballon d'Ors, so we have to be fair as well. They are great players. But we have to work for that, for a more just place in football and outside of it. And because it's true that there are still a lot of prejudices out there, and we have to all work together to tackle this kind of problems.
Hi, I'm Frederic Kanoute, and you're watching Idah Waringa Sport.